Hey guys, so today we're going to be talking about substrates. So essentially substrates for an aquarium provides like a beneficial bacteria, or it's just like a surface where the fish or other animals can just really be on. And so a substrate is a sort of either sand or even there's like certain Amazon soils like you guys can see over here. Essentially what they do is, especially with the soil here, it provides the beneficial bacteria for the tank in general, and it also works as a nutrients for the plants, especially for all these plants. They're gonna end up growing and the roots will dig into these small circles and they'll end up growing and taking out more like a fertilizer. And in the upper tank, this is just more like a sand, and this just helps with like our axolotls over there. What they do is that instead of them slipping on a glass bottom, they're able to use their feet on the sand, which helps them move a bit more better instead of stressing out on a fully glass bottom tank. There's three types of substrates. So we have like a bit of an Amazon sort of soil like this, or we have sand, and then the other one, which I don't have to display, I might pop in a picture or two, is gravel. And there's lots of different types of gravel, and all of them can be used together, or you can use certain ones. Some people use them together to get a certain design and make it look pretty nice.
So Bevan, can I ask you, what sort of, if I was having saltwater tank, can I use gravel as well?
Typically you don't see saltwater tanks with gravel. However,
Can I put sand instead?
normally I'd go for either glass bottom or sand, because there's more sand sifting fish in the marine life sort of ecosystem. So you have some fish that will interact with the sand, maybe dig inside the sand.
Cool. Do I need substrate? Can I have it on a plain glass?
You can have substrate, it's not a requirement, but substrate helps with just a lot of things, because there are fish that like to scavenge around. So having them dig through the sand, like with these shrimps in particular, you can see them, they'd normally be walking, they'll be picking through the sand and trying to find, or even like the soil here, they'll try to find different sort of debris in the rocks and try and filter and just scavenge for food. And that's the same with other fish as well.
Can I get different colors of the substrate?
So with the soil, it's practically only in this color, as it's just a more natural look, and anything else I haven't looked too far into it, but anything else would be a bit off-putting for the fish, I'd assume. And for gravel comes in a variety of different colors. They come in really anything you want. Primarily with sand, there's normal sand, like the sand you see in your beach, like a beige sort of color.
Cool.
It goes to white, black, and those are the three primary ones I'd stick towards.
What are the benefits of having sand?
So the benefits of having sand is, I guess it just really looks nice, especially if you're going for a certain design. You can mix sand with gravel, and you can mix sand with the soil as well.
Is it easy to clean?
Sand is one of those things where it's not too easy to clean just because it's very fine. There tends to be times where algae can grow onto the sand, especially in marine tanks. Algae grows onto the sand, and you're able to see that it's harder to clean without making a whole mess everywhere. And that's probably the same with sand is probably the hardest substrate to keep neat all the time. Whereas gravel, if you use like a gravel filter, a gravel suction, you're able to move the gravel around and all the particles will flow up. It's a lot more efficient and easy to clean. And with the soil, it's a similar thing, because they're both like proper particles and they're not as fine as sand.
What's your advice to, like when you're washing sand so it doesn't screw up your sink and blockage?
What I do for stuff like that is, if you're going to use your sink, I recommend just having a sponge on your sink, just so that when you pour the sand out or pour the sand through a sift or anything, it doesn't go into the drain and clog up the drain. It just sticks next to the sponge. Otherwise, what I recommend you doing, it's even better if you just go outside in your back garden or in your front and just rinse it out with a hose. and they'll be a bit more easier with you and not having to worry about like your kitchen sink or your laundry sink being clogged up.
Cool. With the soil lookalike that you've got here in your shrimp tank,
Yeah.
can you get bigger stonage, or is it just a stock standard size?
Generally this is probably as big as they get. There will be like some that get like a little bit bigger, but nothing too big. These are like you probably find stuff even smaller than this,
Wow.
and stuff maybe bigger, but like nothing as big as pebbles or like a gravel sort of media substrate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, these are generally as big as they get in terms of the soil substrate.
Cool. So when I get this from the pack, can I just throw it into my tank, or do I need to treat
So-
them or wash them?
I'm going to make another video on how you should set up your tank, but what I'd tell you to do would be is you can either rinse them out and then drain it and then put it into your tank and fill up your tank. Probably wouldn't, especially if you're a beginner, I don't recommend you putting fish on your first cycle in your tank. I recommend you give it a week at least and use bacteria and a dechlorinator to help you cycle your tank and get your tank's bacteria running so the fish don't struggle inside there.
So what sort of brands should I look for when it comes to those sort of products?
Personally, I use Seachem and Biotech, but generally everything from an aquarium should be sufficient. And I'd stay away from general pet store dechlorinators if you're going for certain fish like axolotls, because see with the axolotls, since they have like a slime coating, stuff like aloe vera in your dechlorinators are really toxic for them, or any sort of other substances other than the pure dechlorinator will turn out to hurt them more than actually help the water quality, which can result into like killing them, fungus growing, or them just being really unhealthy, which isn't great for the fish.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so I guess that's enough for the substrate. If you guys want to like and subscribe, there'll be a lot more videos coming up.